guys, this is John Spies and Brigette Mileson. This is the Inside Track, our perspective. This is part 2 of having a chat to Gabe Lloyd from T-Town. Hey, Gabe, how are you?
Hi, guys. I'm good. Thanks for having me back on the Inside Perspective. Really happy to be here and continue our conversation today.
Yeah, it's been great. It's great you can make the time to join us. We want to talk a little bit today, a bit more about the vibe inside T-Town. Something we talk about a lot, and I think it's quite difficult to portray. So we've got some pictures. Maybe you can talk us through some of your sort of how you see it and what aspects you enjoy about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think life at T-Town is really interesting. You know, it's this really cool community where riders from around the world come and race at a very high level. I mean, the nickname in 2019, when you guys were last here, was T-Town World Cup. And the T-Town World Cup, I think, was a really appropriate way of making it. Right here is the technical director with me, Andy Lakatosh, actually. And his nickname's Lackey. And so Lackey's insight and ability to structure the racing programs for everybody has been really, really pivotal in really elevating T-Town, I think, in the past few years. And it's not that the UCI programming before that wasn't amazing. I mean, I raced in a lot of those, and they were absolutely hard as hell. But Andy Lakatosh has really figured out how to create a structure of program that appeals to national teams, appeals to individual riders, and is able to present it in a race format that mimics really high level racing that is akin to World Cups, or I guess Nations Cups as they're called now. And then therefore T-Town becomes this really great training ground for riders like you to come and really prepare for the top level of the sport. And I think that's a really perfect place for T-Town to be. Now, all that said, you know, you guys come into town and it's this amazing community that develops. Riders from around the world. I mean, Jean, right now you're in Switzerland. Well, that's okay. I mean, we got plenty of pictures that we can dig up if we need to, but it's, you know, I think right now in Switzerland, John, you've got this great environment with, you know, 5 other riders from around the world to train with, but a lot of athletes never get that experience. You know, their experience is just in their own country. But when you come to T-Town, you have all these different countries from around the world. Those flags in the background represent the countries that are in attendance for that year. And I think that's a really special moment, because when you go to World Cups or you go to Nations Cups or whatever they're called for the year, you don't have those laid back moments. In fact, there was one of your podcasts, I think last week or the week before, where you talked about coming to T-Town and having the opportunity to learn just by listening, right? So you like come to the training session and you sit down under the tent in the infield and you get to overhear what other riders are saying. And it was kind of funny in the podcast because you were like acknowledging that you were listening in on people's conversations, but at the same point, you were absolutely right that that's the most valuable place to learn about how to develop and really take yourself to that next level and really understand what it takes to compete at the very pinnacle of the sport. And you can do that in this really laid back way, right? It's not this super formal, like, hi, how you doing? I'm John. What are you doing? It's just like, we're just out there, we're chilling, we're having a good time, we're putting our efforts in, we get out on track, we're all responsible, we have good track etiquette, everybody's cool. And I find that to be just one of the reasons why T-Town is just one of the most special places to train and race in the world. I just don't see that community and camaraderie and the balance of friendships as well as high sport competition occurring anywhere else in the world.
I definitely agree with that. I think, like, obviously we've been there for 3 seasons, and every year we just kind of leave T-Town falling further in love with the place and in love with the community. You know, yes, sitting under the big tent with the big boys, it has its perks, but not just that. You kind of, as you said, everybody's doing their efforts in training, and even the training sessions, you're kind of rolling around in between, and there's big conversations, and there's friendships being made. And we know from personal experience that those friendships and those bonds is actually a huge advantage and a huge thing within the racing community on a further basis. I take a World Cup where I actually had a puncher, and I went to one of the other nations and I was like, can I borrow a wheel? You know, I would have never been able to ask that question if it wasn't for Tea Time. As simple as what it is asking to borrow a wheel. But that is the importance of this step of going to Tea Time, or in between races, in between Nations Cups and national level, is building that camaraderie and those friendships. Yes, every race we kind of want to kill each other, and there has been funny incidences where, like, for example, myself and Sam Dakin hooked handlebars, and like, I remember everybody going off, and the two of us came off the track laughing at each other. And as much as what it was a very sketchy situation, you kind of look and you go, we're serious about racing, and yes, we want to win, but we're not going to kill each other for it. And we're going to come off the track, debrief together. Bridge, myself, Sam, and Renee actually sat and was like, okay, what actually happened there? You're not going to experience that anywhere else. And it's getting a different perspective from somebody else in a situation that you never even thought you'd be in.
Right.
And I think that is one massive advantage, is putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, and tea timing allowing you to do that over and over again, to make it actually as comfortable as possible. I think I'm talking from a rider's perspective, but I think Bridget will agree from a management perspective, from a coaching perspective. She's sitting there in the inside with us and actually making friendships with other coaches, with other managers, and seeing what they're doing and building her own confidence and her own knowledge within the sport. Just to get
bugging Gabe for results, and Gabe, have you seen this result yet? Gabe, what's happening with that? And you're like, go talk to Casey. Go ask Andy. I'm busy. I got to commentate.
Yeah. It's all good. You're not the only one. That's okay.
No, I know I'm not the only one, but that's what made it funny. You get asked a lot of questions, don't you? I mean, I think you do a lot in terms of just general communication between the organizers, like with Andy and obviously Casey and them, and then with the riders and the coaches. I think you play quite an integral part in that, just from my perspective. I
mean, I think because I think in the last episode we mentioned this briefly, but in 2018 there was this real shift in management at the velodrome, and myself, Casey, and Andy Lakatosh really and became sort of the people that were brought on by the board to help just keep it together. And I'm really proud of the work that we did that year, with the amount of time we had to prepare, and just sort of the amount of information we were provided at the time. But what that brought about was that we did have to become the communication points for riders. And to a certain extent, it was kind of easy because we all raced, so we knew a lot of the riders from before. And it was really nice in a way to be able to communicate. You know, I'm somebody that really loves the camaraderie component of T-Town. The fact that it's almost expected that we're going to communicate at the races, but then continue to stay friends and stay in contact beyond that.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening in a lot of other places, because the perspective of the event is so serious that the idea that you would make friends with everybody is sort of out of the question. And I really am glad that we figured out how to be professional about how we run stuff, but at the same time form these friendships that have even allowed us to talk here today.
Absolutely. I think it's part of, you guys are pretty approachable, and maybe calm is probably the right word. So dealing with any situation or circumstances that sort of arise, For example, like last year, having to add in extra and extra and extra rounds in the Kieran, because you guys went to the extent of coming to the Canadian World Cup and asking all the teams if they would be interested in coming through for all the UCI racing and what they wanted. So you guys took that the next level of actually trying to find out what the riders wanted and what the management wanted, and that was fantastic. So, and then you had to do it again when we actually were in Teton, because you had to add more heats for the Kieran and add more rounds for the sprint and add more rounds for, and then there was a race on for everybody to get to the side of the track and the pro-am racing, because everybody was on to get on the track for the pro-am racing. So
yeah, it's a great problem to have too many riders on track. And that example where Casey Lackey and I went to the World Cup in Milton to just talk to people and just to say, hey, we're still here. What can we do better? And that was something I was really proud of that we did, because it really not only showed that we cared, but like it's one of those things that I always wanted to do, because I thought that it would be a really honest way of getting valid feedback, because you're sort of distracted by the World Cup. And so the response I'm going to get is just going to be off the top, like, here's the info, now get out of here, I got something to do. and it turned out to be really valuable. And I thought that Lackey did a tremendous job developing the following year's schedule and programming, as you just said, because of that trip that we took to Milton.
Yeah, I think it was a fantastic initiative. So I'd like to commend you and Andy and Casey on that, because I think it was fantastic.
Yeah,
it definitely stood us in the stead of like pushing people to say, you know, as much as Teton racing as there's pro amateur racing, when the UCI racing was on last year, it was like a World Cup standard. It was incredibly hard, and a lot of racing had to be done to get to the final 6 riders on the track in a Kieran, or the final 2 riders, or even the final 30 riders on the track for the Omnium. It was a process involved with that, and it was fantastic. And it created such a good vibe with all the riders as well. That was the fun part to watch. And then I love Teton. I love coming there, and I know Jean does as well. My favorite is the Fireflies. It's not the riding. You know, I enjoy the Fireflies.
Yes.
Gabe, we've literally had to stop in the middle of our ride home at midnight just so that Brigette can watch the Fireflies for half an hour. Sitting at midnight in the middle of nowhere, and Bridgette's in awe. But it's a special place because of all those little things. I think we do appreciate everything you guys do for us. Just from a rider's perspective, I know obviously some riders want to go but as an event organizer and as a commentator, what do you look for in riders? What do you want from the riders, from a racing perspective?
There's 2 different things I think that I will look for. As a commentator, I want action on the track. I often take this aggressive tone on the mic to make it seem like I'm picking sides or agitating sometimes. And so it's really subtle, but I got into a tiff with some American riders a year ago. Actually, Brigette, do you have that picture of me at USA Track Nationals?
Yeah, I do. I'll pull it up for you.
This story is a little not T-Town, but it happened because of T-Town. So I got hired by USA Cycling to be the colorful commentator for Elite Track Nationals. And so this is here in Carson, which is essentially Los Angeles, California. And I'm with Alfred Nash, who is a fantastic commentator, definitely one of my favorite guys to work with. And I'm the little guy standing there looking at the track in the Omnium. And there are 2 American riders, Adrian Hedgeberry and Daniel Holloway, who I considered to be really talented, and I've watched them in T-Town many times. And I always on the mic was super aggressive with them, like calling them out when they wouldn't get points in points races, or calling them out when I thought they missed moves, or when I just thought that they were, not necessarily fulfilling their potential.
Yeah.
And so after this day at Track Nationals, I'm actually friends with these guys, and so I messaged Holloway and I was like, hey man, what are you doing for food after this? And he's like, we're going to this place, you can meet us. And so I went there with Andrew Bernstein, who I think you guys know.
Yeah.
And Bernie and I walked in and we sat down at the table with Hedgeberry, Holloway, John Kroom, Eric Young, essentially like the U.S. national team for the day. And Hedgeberry looks at me and he goes, I know you. And I was like, yeah, man. I was like, I know you too, right? They're like, duh. And Holloway was like, he's like, yeah, you know Gabe, right? And Hedge was like, yeah. And I was like, hold up. I was like, and this is what, Jean, I promise I'm getting to your point. I was like, hold up, man. When I'm on the mic, what I'm looking for is some drama to get the spectators interested in you. And I think that you carry so much potential of being the best that when you're not achieving that, I'm going to let everybody know, because I want everybody to know to look at you, because you're the one who can really be at the front of this race and win it. And I think that drama component helps people become relatable, right? So we talked maybe the last episode or in our other conversations about how data can be a relatable component to riders, but I think personality and emotion can be a relatable component. And so the short answer to your question after all that backstory is what I look for in riders are moments of relatability. And I will do my best to say, hey, this guy on the track, this number 32, whatever, he's really good. And you need to pay attention to him. Watch him no matter where he is. Don't just look at the front of the field. Watch this rider. See what he does. See how he reads the race, adjusts his speed, goes up track, down track, follows other wheels. Those are the moments that I think are really interesting. And I will try to pull that rider out of the field in a way that the spectators will try to follow what I'm following. So it's a bit of drama. It's a bit of, hey, I know this guy is really good. Let's see if he fulfills that promise. Now, so that's a commentating thing. From an event promoter standard, I just want stuff to be safe. I want track etiquette to be on point. I don't want really any drama anywhere, because drama can also be dangerous. We've had situations.
You don't need a 2019 Omnium qualifying round crash.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, with Phil, you mean?
Yeah.
Or yeah. I mean, I think that it's really important to try to make sure people go through the safety standards and that are really understand track etiquette and just awareness and things like that. We want everybody to have a good time. We want everybody to come away from all races, whether it's T-Town or the races that I promote myself and or that Casey and I promote ourselves. We want everybody to come away with them with a really positive experience to the point that you'll want to come back. And so it's definitely two different sides of the coin from my perspective. Again, commentating, I'll pull drama. I will be dramatic. I will try to force somebody's hand by agitating them.
Like getting a sprinter to ride off the front in an endurance race. Thanks.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Because that's really cool, right? When you're off the front of a race, people get excited about that. Now, at the same time, I'm talking about Shane Klein, who's back in the field that should have won this race, and that it's sort of on him to either figure out how to bridge across to you, or whose wheels are he going to follow to try to get himself to you without burning all his matches and then still winning the race. Same thing applies for riders like Stephen Hall, Tom Rotherham, Matt Rotherham, like just a few names that pop out in my head of, the times where I'll be agitating them. I mean, Tom Rotherham's really funny, where he'll message me and be like, why are you so mean to me? And I'm like, man, it's just, because I know you can win, right? Like, I know that kind of no matter what I say, you're still going to pull out a really good ride. But I need the spectators to watch you the whole time. And so I've found that over the years, that kind of being a needle in their side is the best way of getting the spectators to emotionally respond to watching them in the middle of the path, right?
Very clever. That's very
Pretty cool.
clever. Nice.
It's just my strategy. I mean, I think all commentators have different approaches, and that's why I also think that as an event promoter, you should hire a commentator that you appreciate the style of, not somebody who's just super local or super cheap, right? Like bring in somebody that really knows the sport and really has their own way of doing something and sticks to it. Because the commentator is really the mouthpiece of the event director, right? It's like the event directors put on this structure of shows. Lackey designs these schedules for T-Town that are set up in a way that is really intentional. And it's my job to sort of pull the riders through that schedule, but also pull the spectators through and let them know why this race is important and how much fatigue is in the legs and what characters have done what throughout the day and who's having a good day, who's not living up to their potential. Those are all the nuances that I think I can offer. And, you know, I think that's why I continue to, you know, be brought back.
That's pretty cool. So, I mean, in short, like for layman's perspective, is you want riders to race positively, safely, but positively, in a sense of you're able to push on their emotions and actually get people to relate to their current situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Very well said, John. You have a future in commentating.
I'll come and join you one day.
There you go.
Thank you, gentlemen. This has been wonderful. It's been a great chat. Gabe, thank you for making time to come chat with us today. Really appreciate it. I know it's Sunday and I know you're on babysitting duty, so
Yeah.
Thank you very
your
much,
little
Gabe.
one's looking after is keeping quiet.
Well, it's been my pleasure. It's been really cool chatting with you guys and catching up a little bit. And I certainly hope to see you in T-Town at some point. Now, we may not see you in 2021 for the T-Town Summer Games. Is that what I understand?
I've got apparently got a different games that I need to go to during that same period of time.
Well, man, well, I'll be looking for that announcement when the time is ready.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Have a great one.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. See you. Bye.